My altar is calling. Yeah, my altar is calling. Oh God, my altar is calling. My altar, Lord, my altar is calling. Oh, my altar is calling. Oh, my altar, is calling. Oh, my altar, is calling. Oh, my altar, is calling you. Oh, my altar, is calling. Hallelujah. Yeah, yeah,
You are welcome back to Transformation Time with the Samaritan Strategy. We are so sorry for the unprecedented technical problems that we encountered. Thank you for your prayer support that has helped us to come back to this program. We thank you for the fact that we are in a period of reflections about things of transformation and discipling nations. So we started with discipling the nations, and then we went through some of the topics that had to do with discipling a nation. And then we came to the gates of the city. Then we said, you are the gate that God has placed you wherever you find yourself. You are a gate to your family. And it's so important because unless you see yourself in that precious assignment that I am a gate to bring God's glory, to bring joy, to bring love, to bring God's intentions to my family, you cannot do much when problems start coming in your marriage. You are a gate at your workplace. You are a gate to your family. You are a gate to your business. You are a gate to the profession that you belong to. And God has specially placed you there to be his agent of transformation. And so it's so important for us to reflect on things that have to do with your responsibility as God's ambassador, as God's representative, wherever you find yourself, in whatever responsibility that he has placed on you, whatever be the levels the status that God has placed you. You are a key person as far as His agenda is concerned. Today we want to talk about the forest in the seed. And whenever we talk about the forest, we talk about a place of trees, a place of different vegetations and all of that. But here, I'm not referring to any other person than yourself. You are not just a seed, but a forest in a seed. As a seed, people may not even regard you. You may regard or see yourself as so insignificant because you look at maybe the mango seed, or look at the seed of millet. I mean, these are so little that sometimes you may not see its significance. Why am I saying you are a forest in a seed? You know, our objective here is to challenge the assumption that the resources for development come primarily from outside our communities, and also to understand that God is a God of multiplication. Even in the natural realm, there's no seed that is sown that grows and matures to produce just a single seed. A seed, when it is planted or when it is sown, germinates, grows, and multiplies in tens, in hundreds, in thousands. And so God is a God of multiplication. But the multiplication comes only when the seed is sown. And this is why when we were dealing with the topic seed projects, we were intentional in our teaching that unless a seed is sown, as the Bible says, it remains single. And so if you really want to see God's glory in matters of life, you need to sow a seed. Seed are so important because it always produces multiples, not additions. Again, we want to begin to identify the resources available to an individual or a community development. And these issues are so important for us, especially in the third world. And to begin to identify some of the natural and spiritual gifts that God has granted you and I. We are so significant. But when you start thinking that resources always can be available when it comes from outside, then that mindset, that sort of thinking, which is very popular view, always put people in poverty and hunger. And what we think of ourselves, the world we live in, and the purpose of life for the individual and that of the individual's family will surely shape our actions. Ideas have consequences. As I've always said, the type of ideas you have consequences on your personal life, on your community life, on your national life. And so it has come to a time we have to look at the roots of the issues we have. In most cases, when it comes to issues of development, we cannot even identify the root issues. We are only talking about fruits, the fruit issues of society. As far as our societies are concerned, what do we see? The poverty, the hunger, the deprivations. We see the suffering. We see underdevelopment. We see diseases. And so these are the issues that confront us each day. And intragovernmental NGOs and individuals are working to solve fruit problems instead of looking at the roots of the problems. What is confronting us has to do with root problems. Because if you don't understand the roots of the problem, you always be giving false solution to the fruits. But when the roots are dealt with, then surely the fruits will also be taken care of. And what are the root issues that we talk about? It has to do with our belief systems. What are the ideas that we have as a people? What are the ideas that confront us? These are the roots. What are the beliefs? And when you come to Africa and some of the third world countries, it has to do with the animistic mindset. In the Western societies, what is now confronting them is secularism, materialism that has taken over the nations. So people have lost their biblical mindset or worldviews. And these belief systems are so critical if we seriously are considering issues of development. The trunk of a tree are made up of the values. What are the values that people so cherish and want to protect and want to keep? Do people have values at all? Most values now are subjective. And so people think in terms of relative things, even when it comes to the truth. Truth is so relative to many, but it is only the truth that can set you free. The branches of the tree has to do with the behaviors that are confronting our daily lives. What behavior do we put up on issues of sex, on issues of development, on issues of progress, on issues of sanctity of life? What are the behaviors? The fruits are just the consequences. The Bible says, as a man thinketh, so is he. The way we think, our ideas will produce the type of behaviors and conduct that we have. Now, in a story in Matthew 25, 14 to 30, Jesus gave a very vivid idea about our lives. Again, he says, it will be like a man going on a journey who has called his servants and entrusted his property to them. Verse 18 of Matthew 25 says, verse 15 of Matthew 25 says, to one he gave 5 talents of money, to another 2 talents, and to another 1 talent, each according to his ability. Then he went on his journey. Now, this is so important about talents given to servants. And when you read the King James, the instruction was specific. Do business with this. One was given 5, 1, 2, and the other was given 1 talent according to their ability. Now, what did the servant do with their talents? Now, that's so important. And let's see if we can identify ourselves with the servant using their talents or with the one that hid it. Now, when you read from verse 16, it says, after a long time, their master returned from his trip and called them to give an account of how they had used their talents or money. The servant to whom he had entrusted the 5 bags of silver came forward with 5 more and said, Master, you gave me 5 bags of silver or talents to invest, and I have earned 5 more. Verse 21. The master was full of praise. Well done, my good and faithful servant. You have been faithful in handling this small amount. So now I will give you many more responsibilities. Let's celebrate together. Well done. That's the word. Good and faithful servant. The servant who had received the 2 bags of silver came forward and said, Master, you gave me 2 bags of silver to invest, and I have earned 2 more. The master said, well done, my good and faithful servant. You have been faithful in handling this small amount, so now I give you many more responsibilities. Let's celebrate together. Now, what are we seeing here? What did the servant do with their talents? They invested and the one with 5 got 5 more. Right? And what was the commendation of their master? It was the same commendation. The master said, "Well done, good and faithful servant." Good and faithful servant. Can you identify yourself with the servant using these talents? Do you even identify the talents that you have? The master said, "Well done, good and faithful servant." Sometimes we have the fatalistic mindset. We think we have nobody. We are nobody. We have nothing. We forget that each of us have been created so special, so unique, with different talents, with different abilities. And God has entrusted some responsibility to us. Can you identify your talents? Can you start working with what you have? Not waiting for resources to come from abroad or from your headquarters or from outside. Now, you will see that there is a problem when you go to the verse 24. Then the servant with the 1 bag of silver came and said, "Master, I knew you were a harsh man, harvesting crops you didn't plant, and gathering crops you didn't cultivate. I was afraid I will lose your money, so I hid it in the earth. Look, here is your money back." But the master replied, "You wicked and lazy servant. If you knew I harvested crops I didn't plant, and gathered crops I didn't cultivate, why didn't you deposit my money in the bank? At least I could have gotten some interest on it." Then he ordered, "Take the money from these servants and give it to the one with the 10 bags of silver. To those who use well what they are given, even more will be given to them, and they will have an abundance. But from those who do nothing, even with what little they have, the little they have will be taken away. Now throw these useless servants into the outer darkness, where they will be weeping and gnashing of teeth." Now the servants had something but one. He was to invest and use it the same way the one with 5 and 2 had. But he said, "I was afraid I'll lose your money, and so I hid it. Look at it. Take it back." What was the response of the master? "You wicked and lazy servant." I don't think this is how we want to be described in any way. Wicked and lazy. If the condemnation was just at that level of lazy and wicked servant, it would have been okay. But the consequence was far more. That one talent or 1 bag of money or silver was taken away from him and given to the one who has more. And in addition to that, this servant was thrown into outer darkness, where there is weeping and gnashing of teeth. What was the problem of the servant who hid his talent? What did the master say to him? "You wicked and lazy." So you see, not recognizing what you have is wicked, and not utilizing it, not working, using your talents, your abilities, your giftings, as God has given you, is seen as lazy. Right? Why do you think many believers do not use their talents today? I think many don't, because they are comparing what they have with others. They think what they have is so little, insignificant. What they have is not much as compared to others. So they think they have nothing. But whoever you are, wherever you come from, wherever God has placed you, you are so important because God has deposited talents, giftings, abilities in you. Whatever assignment or position God has given you, He knows that you can. You can afford it. You can make it. You can do it. Because don't forget, these talents was given according to each person's ability. So we have no excuse. Now, you see, Jesus, even in his lifetime, did not start a social program centered on communal feeding of the poor. His words against their expectation of another free lunch even shook the people so much that a vast majority deserted him at that time. We don't serve a God who just gives free goodies. He expects us to work, and for that matter, to work hard with our hands or with what we have. What do you have? In whatever situation you find yourself, in whatever environment that you find yourself, God is looking up to you to use your talents, your giftings, your abilities. You can do something to bring about progress to your own life, prosperity to your own life. But if you stay and live in your fatality and think you have nothing, you are nobody, you are so insignificant, you can do nothing, and you live a life of poverty, I think it is a poverty of mind. The poverty we have in Africa is a poverty of the mindset. Why? Because we are so blessed. God has blessed us with everything that can make a human being somebody. We have good land, fertile land, of course, good vegetation, good sunshine. God has given us a lot of resources, natural resources that no continent can ever have. We are so blessed in many ways. We have the sea, we have the rain, we have the vegetation, we have the natural resources. And God has placed in us so much talent and abilities and giftings that we can turn things around. What is wrong? We don't even value what we have. And that's why I'm telling you today that you are somebody. You are a forest in a seed. Now, if you don't see yourself as a forest and you just see yourself as a seed, a very insignificant seed, like peanut, like mango seed, you just see it in singles and you can just consume it without having any benefit, then that is the consequences of your mindset. God has placed in you the seed, a forest. Don't forget, any one seed, when it is sown, it is so taken care of, nurtured so well. One mango tree, when it grows, it bears forth, hundreds of seed. And if this one seed, which has produced hundreds of seed, and that seeds are not consumed, but also taken care of and sown or planted, within a short period of time, you have a forest of mangoes. One mango can produce forest of mangoes. If that one mango seed is sown, it multiplies, and within some period of time, you have a forest of mangoes. If one seed of an orange, of orange, one seed, not all the seed in one, orange, just one can produce forests of orange, plantation. This is how God has made us. We have no excuse. We cannot live in poverty and think God ordained that poverty for us, that hopelessness, that dark continent that people call us is so erroneous. We have to turn things around, but it depends on you. How do you see yourself? You are somebody so special, so unique, created in the image and likeness of God. And God has put in you significant talents and abilities. It is up to us to stand up, to stand out, to rise up to the very uniqueness that God has placed us, without expecting that unless we travel to Europe or go to the United States, that we can make it. All the success is here. All the significance, all the production, all the development, God has given it to us. It depends on you. I'm saying you are so important. You are a forest in a seed. Outwardly, you may think you are nobody because you don't have money in your pocket, but you have everything. The talents, you have the dignity, you have the abilities to rise up to that expectation, to be what God intends you to be as a person, for God to bring out his purposes as a community, for God to bring out all the best in us as a nation. It depends on us. It depends on the renewing of our mind that we can do it, because we are not just seeds, we are forests in a seed. Thank you, and God bless you.
Oh, speak from the heavens, and the earth will hear. Oh, speak from the heavens, and the earth will hear. Oh, speak from within me, and the earth will hear. Break forth from within me, and the earth will hear. For my altar is calling you, oh God. My altar is calling. Yeah, my altar is calling, oh God. My altar is calling. My altar, Lord, my altar is calling. Oh, my altar is calling. Oh, my altar, is calling. Oh, my altar, is calling. Oh, my altar, is calling you. eh, yeah, 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 yeah.